Hi everyone. Today I'm going to read to you from my book Opting Out and In on women's careers and new lifestyles. This is Michelle's story. Michelle is sitting across from me, looking relaxed and content, talking about her opting out experience. She seems very happy, but explains how opting out has been anything but easy for her. It has been a very emotional time and a difficult transition filled with many mixed feelings. Her journey from opting out to opting in to what she is doing today has been a long one with many different turns and times of confusion, searching, and doubt. Michelle explains how she felt when she opted out. I felt a lot of things. I felt like a failure. I think quitting is hard for me. It's hard for a lot of people, so I felt as though I was failing on some level, that I wasn't making it work. I also felt relief. The opportunity to see my children more, or at least see them when it mattered and not when someone else chose for me to see them. I think I felt a relief of pressure. I think it's very hard to be a mother and to be at someone else's whim and schedule, and I think that was just so hard to have someone dictating my choices when they affected my family so much. So the relief was big. I was scared because I didn't know what I was going to do next. I quit before I went back to school, so I definitely was scared, and I definitely also second-guessed myself a lot in terms of, why have I made so many choices and why haven't they worked for me? What am I doing wrong? There are plenty of women out there who are working in jobs with strict, inflexible bosses, and they're doing fine. What is it about me? Michelle gave up a career in communications. Her journey towards where she is today started when she got pregnant with her first child. She was heading up the communications department in a large organization. She was, however, in her own words, the only person out of 200 who was married, let alone pregnant and having a baby. Having never had a pregnant employee before, the company didn't have a maternity policy, so Michelle had to create one herself, interviewing between 20 and 30 companies in the area to find out what they were doing. Coming back to work after the baby was born was difficult, she says. It was really, really hard. It was really hard because everyone was working. The people, that was their life. They socialized together, they worked crazy hours, and they treated the job and the company as if it was their child. And so I had a lot of younger people working for me. I didn't want to work those hours anymore, and I couldn't. And I had all these people under me who were putting in 10 hours a day, more than I did or whatever, and it just felt wrong. She couldn't put in the hours she had put in before, and she just didn't feel that working less than her team was sustainable. She didn't feel like it was working out and relatively quickly decided to hand in her letter of resignation, taking a severance package so that she could stay home and care for her infant. She always planned to eventually go back to work, but while she was at home, she got pregnant again with her second child. Around the same time, her husband was offered a job in another city, and since she wasn't working at the time, the family relocated. In the new city, meeting new people, Michelle was suddenly defined by her role as a stay-at-home mom, which was a completely new experience for her. Her friends and colleagues, where she used to live, all knew she knew her as a career person she had been, whereas in the new city, she was no longer the high-powered career woman only temporarily at home. She had unintentionally become a stay-at-home mom and was acutely aware that this must be how people saw her. And so, well, she explains. And so we got here, and I found it really, really disconcerting not to be working for the first time. We didn't know anyone, so I was meeting people. I had a really hard time saying, I'm a stay-at-home mom, because at least everyone where we used to live knew me for the career that I had. So at least when I took the package and decided to stay home with my baby, at least they all knew that I was smart enough and had been successful enough, and they knew me at least with that side. But everybody I met here, I had a self-esteem sort of identity problem saying I'm a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to sort of shout, I used to be really successful, Michelle felt a loss of status and had trouble coming to terms with her new identity. She felt compelled to let people know that even though she was at home, it was only temporary. She wanted to work, and when her second child was about a year old, she started freelancing and working part-time from home, looking for a way to combine motherhood with work. Working from home also proved very difficult. It was difficult keeping work and family life separate and to carve out time and space for work. Next, she tried working in an office 3 days a week, and in order to have a more clear division between home and work. However, this solution was also hard. She loved her job, but the biggest problem was the lack of flexibility. She had no power over her time, no control over when she could be with her children. Michelle remembers one incident that she is visibly resentful of. She wanted to go and see her daughter perform in her first school play and had asked her boss if she could take Thursday off and work on Friday instead, and Friday was her day off, which to her seemed a perfectly reasonable solution. She wasn't allowed to go, and she ended up missing the play, which had been important to both her and her daughter. She felt powerless, like she had no control over her time or her life. Her work was affecting her children and dictating when she could spend time with them, not allowing her to be the mother she wanted to be. However, it wasn't until her family experienced a real crisis that she started to seriously think about quitting her job. Her husband was suddenly diagnosed with a debilitating disease, and now he needed her too. Being there for her children and her husband physically and emotionally was too hard to do with a job where she had no control over how she used her time. Her husband's deteriorating health pushed her to reevaluate her priorities and made her realize that a job was not as important as her family. She explains, "I just realized that there was a priority, and my boss was not very supportive of me, even during the period my husband was in the hospital, and I just realized that was just not the right environment." One evening at dinner with a few close friends, she just broke down from exhaustion. Talking to her friends helped her see that she really needed to make a change. She couldn't go on like this. The following day, she handed in her letter of resignation and left the company to stay home full-time and be there for her children and her husband. However, she continued to feel very ambivalent about leaving her job. She says, "I felt I'd always been this very driven person who was focused and went from job to job and climbed the ladder, and it all seemed very logical. And I realized since I'd had children, it had been kind of this up and down, so many decisions, making a decision and then changing it, second guessing myself. I went through this period of just wondering, what is the right answer? I've tried everything. I've tried staying at home. I've tried full-time. I've tried part-time. I found it really confusing, quite frankly, just that I couldn't even figure it out for myself. Because I'm one of those people who, if I know I want to work, I'm usually good at just going out and making it happen. But I found it really confusing." Her husband eventually recovered against all odds, and Michelle started to reevaluate what was important in her life. "You just don't want to waste any time on anything that doesn't matter anymore, so social pressures didn't matter to me anymore, and superficial things kind of stopped mattering." The crisis she and her family had survived made her stop worrying about what other people thought of her. It did not matter whether she was the career woman or not in others' opinions. With the situation at home under control, she decided that she wanted to pursue a new type of career and went back to school and started studying something she had felt passionate about for a while. She then went on to found a company of her own in a field where she could work with children and have a positive impact on their well-being. Michelle, just like the other women interviewed for this book, went through all the major issues that have been prevalent in stories of opting out, both in my study of opting out and in previous research. She struggled to find balance between different areas of her life. She had an identity crisis, and she had another much more serious crisis, an illness in her family, which triggered her to rethink her priorities and values while she sought agency and control over her life. The transition was hard, and there was a lot of searching before she figured out what she wanted to do, but when she finally did, she had a feeling of authenticity and coherence, and was just simply happy. She points out that it was not that she does not have any problems or worries anymore, but it is because she has more control. She explains, I feel more confident in what I'm doing because I'm not at someone else's whim. So I feel more calm as a mother because I'm not at someone else's beck and call or whim. Yeah, I feel calmer and I feel happier. And I think I'm taking better better care of myself. It's not that I'm exercising all the time or doing all these things that are leisurely for me, but I guess I'm just less stressed. And I definitely have a fair amount of stress at times because with my own company, it's me or nobody. But it's just different. I feel as though I can at least control that more, where I never felt it was in my control before. This book is available in all the online bookstores, and you can also order it from the publisher Routledge. I'll leave links below. Thank you for watching.